How did printing press change the course of history? What ideas were spread using this invention?
Imagine a world where there are no books, no newspapers, no pictures, and no posters. Sounds so boring, right? Now, this is how we describe the change made by printing press. Rainbows. In the 15th century, an innovation enabled people to share knowledge more quickly and widely. Civilization never looked back. Knowledge is power, as the saying goes. And the invention of the mechanical movable type printing press helped disseminate knowledge wider and faster than ever before. With the invention of the printing press, it became possible for easier distribution and identical copies of a written medium. First, true newspapers were mass produced and distributed because of the printing press instead of word of mouth. Books are also mass produced, which makes the cost much lower than a handwritten book. Since books cost less than without the printing press, more people were able to afford them, and thus reading and writing literacy grew and made it for greater population. The printing press also made it possible to educate people faster. New ideas and knowledge could be shared with more people. It was apparent that the printing press made a lot of impact on education and the teaching process. Imagine schools without books to rely on. How would it be possible for students to learn visually?
During this invention, ideas were spread by helping Europe out of the Middle Ages and accelerating human progress. And here are the following ideas that were spread during the invention of the printing press. From when Martin Luther becomes the first best-selling author to the launching of a global news network. Since literacy rates were still very low in the 1490s, locals would gather at the pub to hear a paid reader recite the latest news, which was everything from body scandals to war reports. Imagine having to gather in one place just to hear the latest news, such as the inauguration rights of the president. Kind of a hustle. But historian Ada Palmer said, printing presses radically changed the consumption of news. It made it normal to go check the news every day. Third is when the Renaissance kicked into high gear. It was their foremost goal to find the long-lost works by figures like Plato and Aristotle and republish them. Wealthy patrons funded expensive expeditions across the Alps in search of the isolated monasteries. Italian emissaries spent years in Ottoman Empire learning enough ancient Greek and Arabic to translate and copy rare texts into Latin. The operation to retrieve classic texts was in action long before the printing press, but publishing the texts has been arduously slow and prohibitively expensive for one other than the richest of the rich. Number 4 is that printing powers the scientific revolution. When developing his sun-centric model or heliocentrism of the galaxy in the early 1500s, Polish astronomer Nicholas Copernicus relied not only on his own heavenly observations but on printed astronomical tables of planetary movements. See, who would have known that the sun is the center of the solar system if not for the printed astronomical tables? Number 5. Fringe voices had get a platform. After the printing press, historian Palmer says it became nearly impossible to destroy all copies of dangerous ideas. And the more dangerous a book was claimed to be, the more people wanted to read it. Every time the church published a list of banned books, the booksellers knew exactly what they should print next. Do you remember how the Philippines got out of the hands of the colonizers? It is through the works of our national hero, Jose Protasio Rizal. He was a multifaceted, intellectual, and a political activist, best known for his political writings that inspired the Philippine Revolution that ultimately led to his execution by the Spanish colonizers. Jose Rizal quickly emerged as the leading propagandist, and through the mass printing of his novel Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo, he exposed the corruption of Manila Spanish society and stimulated the movement for independence. See? Quite a change right there. So to sum it all up, the invention of the printing press made information more rapidly and readily available to everyone. Just like the internet changed the way people communicate today, the invention of the printing press also revolutionized how information was disseminated. We may not know everything printing presses was influenced to do in the other parts of the world, but as Filipinos, knowing that printing presses was one of our best friends by helping our national hero to perform his propaganda to free us from the colonizers, it is enough to say that printing presses changed the country and the whole world.